What helped you get over a crush you had for years? Well, for me, I kept telling myself that I did not fall in love with her, but with the idea of her. I had always imagined a future with her. I wouldn't bore you with the details, but yeah, in those imaginations she seemed to be so excited about my presence. I mean, she was in real life too. She's a pretty good friend of mine, but in those dreams, a little more, I guess. But anyway, the fabricated and real girl were almost pole opposites in nature. So I kept telling myself for 3 years that the girl I actually had a crush on never existed. I liked the girl in my imagination, and there, she liked me back too. It wasn't the case with the real one. So that's what helped me move on from her. She's still my friend. Maybe we're not as close as we were before. Maybe it's for the best. I still sometimes get slight feelings for her, but I'm sure it will wear out with time. I feel like I'm going through this right now. I'm telling myself the same. I did not fall in love with her, but with the idea of her line. I too hope it will wear out with time. One day I saw her across the quad. I waved and she stopped walking and just stood there. I walked towards her and realized that she wasn't walking towards me. Then I realized she'd never walked towards me, never sought me out, never put effort into our friendship, let alone anything else our relationship might develop into. It took a bit to process, but that was the moment that helped me break free. There's so much emotion and realization that you've just described here. I'm sorry this comment hasn't gotten more attention. OHH, here's my time to shine. So I got into this girl in middle school. I've had a mad crush on her for 5 long freaking years. The reason why I didn't confess was that I was the rejected kid. 0 friends and a weirdo, and she on the other hand was popular, smart and intelligent. So I always admired her from the sidelines, under the radar, and she was completely unknown of my existence. In high school I made a few friends who told me to stop being a wimp and confess. So I walked up to her one day in recess and confessed. She made a disgusted face and said that no way in heck she'd be with me and she was in a relationship anyways. I walked away disappointed in myself and feeling real down. Then a few minutes later her boyfriend came up to me. He said that he was listening from a distance and said he had chewed her out for her reaction. I know that I shouldn't have taken her seriously, but I actually felt low for a month. This guy approached me every day, asked how I was doing. Later on we made best friends. Later on the girl dumped him and he told me all that was wrong about her and how she was a complete jerk and I had dodged a bullet. This guy helped me a lot in recovering from that blow, and he's the reason why I'm actually making more friends. Note, this happened a year ago. TLDR. Girl humiliated me for confessing, but her boyfriend made best friends with me and helped me recover. That's actually really cool of the dude to come up to you and comfort you. I hope you're still doing well, bro. He rejected me and I sat up all night crying and eventually realized that the last 4 years I'd had a crush on him. I had pretty much just looked at all the positive interactions and filled in the rest of the time by projecting a personality onto him. You have absolutely no idea how much you just helped me with this statement. Thank you so much. Realizing she had a lack of ambition with her life, and that I was a lot more invested into maintaining the relationship than she was. Something I always try to remember going forward is that you have to separate what the relationship used to be, what it could be, versus what it actually is. Some things you just can't change or work out. Telling her how I feel, not in a be my girlfriend sense, more in a this thing is bothering me and I need to talk about it way. I was 99.9% sure she only saw me as a friend. Turns out, I was absolutely right. Things got weird between us for about half a week. She is still my best friend, but after confessing, the romantic feelings for her quickly faded away. It feels better this way. Dude, I fricked my best friend after 10 years of being best friends. It was horrible. We laugh and wonder why we thought that was a good idea. Still best friends. I asked her out. She said no. Ended up becoming friends. Still don't recall how or when exactly I got over her. I guess hanging out with her over the years made me realize that being friends is better than being together. She's a wonderful friend, though she still made fun of me for asking her out that time. You have to accept it. Don't obsess over them, but don't push the thought of them away so much that you can't process it. Allow yourself to come to terms with it. Accept it for whatever it is. and realize what you need to do to move forward. Everyone is different and every situation is different, but I believe the first step is acknowledgement and acceptance. Sometimes you also have to realize that you are not in love with the person, but merely the idea of that person. My feelings didn't change when she was interested in other guys, until she actively tried to date a married guy. Complete 180 for me on that one in mere seconds. 2-year-long mega crush gone. I think sometime during our teen and early 20s the feelings were mutual, but timing was always off. So, I wrote him a farewell letter, apologizing for growing apart and told him I'll always love him. Wished him the best and left it at that. I don't know if he ever received the message, but it gave me the necessary closure to move on with my life and remember us during the happier times we had. Ending unlocked. Good ending. Imagining hypothetical situations for so long that I discovered the situation where we actually go out but then I dump the crush. Seeing them make awful life choices that stress their partner out and realizing if I had made a move years ago I would be the one picking up the pieces. I just found out mine is spending every second week fricking her ex-husband before he goes back to spend a week with his wife. The kids know he's staying in town all week, and mom disappears all the time for walks and dinners with friends whenever he's here. As others said, once you find out what they're really like, wow. Became his friend. Turns out, he is not my type at all. I only liked the idea of him. The mystery of not knowing him was what made him attractive. Couldn't believe my luck when I found Kim some 25 years later. Still single, and still quite pretty. Took her out to a nice Italian place, and she spent the entire time on her goddamn phone with her stupid friend whose kid wouldn't listen to her. How her deadbeat husband was such a loser. How men in general sucked. I finished dinner, dessert, drink, then another drink, then paid the bill. When I got up to leave, she still remained on that 90+ minute phone conversation, but held up her index finger, as if asking me to wait just one more minute. Sometimes the real blessing is not getting exactly what you want. Coming in way too late, but here goes. When I finally told her how I felt and was rejected, I asked her if she ever thought about the possibility of us together. She said it was as if I could feel my brain rewiring right there in the moment, because I realized I wasted so many years pining over someone who never once considered me in the same way. Who knows what opportunities I missed because I was so fixated on her. Thankfully I got out of my head in my early 20s before it impeded any more growth on my part. I had the biggest crush ever. He was a really close friend, and we had an amazing friendship that made me doubt he reciprocated my feelings. After my long-term relationship finished, I just decided to confess my feelings, because I didn't feel like I could move on if I didn't. We dated for about 6 months, and then separated amicably. We were a better match on paper than IRL. Talking to my crush and being honest about my feelings helped me not idealize them, and eventually I came to terms with the fact that we were not a good couple. My advice is, don't be scared to talk about your crush with your crush, and avoid making them more perfect in your mind. They are still human. Be honest, be kind, and be respectful of any outcome. Time. Eventually your life moves on and you think about the person less and less because you have other interests, problems to give your time to. The passage of time. Also, if I just spend enough time with someone, eventually their annoying stuff helps fade the glimmer from infatuation. I mean, sometimes I never really got over them, but if I did, it was because I found something out about them that instantly made my interest in them vanish, or for some other reason. I had on one for 2 years, finally mustered up the courage to text her about my feelings, never received a reply. 10 minutes later, I received a screenshot of my own confession by a mutual friend. That was it for me, never looked back. Actually dating him after having a crush for 10 years. It lasted 6 months. Great guy, terrible boyfriend. I don't have a problem with weed, but he smoked so much he forgot everything and it was basically his identity. I think it's safe to classify that as addiction. Sorry it didn't work out. Nothing. It's been 15 years now. I've had other relationships, got engaged to another girl and gave it my all until she cheated on me and we broke up. I'm still really good friends with my crush, but she is in a relationship with someone else. I still think she has feelings for me too, but she is with a great guy, so I am happy for her. I just wish it was me she was with. I realized I didn't really have a crush on him, but forced myself to think that because when I told my friends at a party that I don't have a crush, they got angry and accused me of lying because everyone always has a crush. This literally happened to me. Honestly, for me, it was another girl who basically swooped me, totally distracted me off the one I had years long crush on, and yeah, we started dating for a bit. The crush dissipated and never came back. I was eventually diagnosed with a form of PTSD and realized that it was making me obsessed with that person, not the person himself. PTSD, CPTSD in my case, makes you live in the past. I have CPTSD too. I didn't realize it makes us stuck with the past with things like crushes, time, distance, and also I've matured more and grown as a person and realized that my desires are different from what they were. Are you okay? Every time someone asks me that, I want to run away, but when I've escaped, all I want is for someone to ask me that again. Cycle. The fact that they grow up to be people that I wouldn't get along with. I had crushes on a lot of girls that turned out to be, over time, boring, annoying, or just downright horrible people. It was a slow process, but I had a bit of a chuckle here too, like, if Almost You Like turns out to be a dickhead, well. 1. Not seeing them anymore. 2. Finding someone better for you. Some people can really steal your heart by looks alone, but that's no good cause you might not actually get along that well at all. But out of sight, out of mind worked pretty well after a few months. Time, crying, music, hobbies, learning to accept and love myself, realizing that a crush for years might mean more, and realizing that I have this amazing feeling inside of me, even if she isn't aware of it. Just knowing I can feel it is amazing. I love this. I thought the same too. I didn't think I was capable of loving and supporting someone else, but I surprised myself. I saw what he was doing to himself and that it was never going to happen, so I distanced myself and just focused on me. I've really come to terms with it over the years and think I am better for taking that step. One day I realized that chasing after her was just me trying to fill a void that was there before she became a part of my life, and that would still be there after she no longer was. Realize there's nothing beautiful or romantic about pining for someone and choose to get past it. Include, reciprocates my feelings equal to my own. On my list of what to look for in a future romantic partner. If someone can't reciprocate, realize it isn't meant to be and it would never be compatible or healthy. Recognize that the qualities that are attractive in that person can be found in other people, and more importantly, in myself. Treat getting over someone like getting over an addiction. It actually activates the same parts of your brain, same feel-good chemicals. So pining equals withdrawal. You get over it by going cold turkey and waiting for the pain to ebb. It will. Do not stalk on social media. When thoughts of person come up, just remind self not helpful and immediately think of something else I like thinking about instead. Also remind self of any bad quality of said person and amplify why it would be an unhealthy, unpleasant dynamic in a relationship. Focus on future and other people in life who are good for me. When one day my best friend started having hard crushes on her. He didn't know this, but I helped him trying to score her by telling him what moves he should make, or what's her preference. At that point I realized I was having a crush on her for nearly a decade, and a decade of unrequited love is just too long. The fact that I saw her a few months later in a supermarket after nearly 5 years that I last saw her just broke me. She's just too beautiful and pure for me to have any chances with her. So this time I get to help my best friend and get over my feelings. The ending? Apparently my best friend is just as coward as me and ultimately kept his feelings to himself rather than going through with it. My ex-crush currently has a really cool boyfriend and is on track to finish her architecture degree. Beautiful. Speaking as a 25-year-old male virgin who's had quite a few crushes in high school, I think it's a combination of growing older and coming to a bit of a realization about how love actually works in the real world. Teenage hormones made me believe I was madly in love with a particular female classmate or acquaintance. Then it just suddenly dawned on me that I didn't actually know this girl very well, never really interacting with her outside of school hours, and obviously enough that my attraction to her was pretty shallow and one-sided in the first place. I was in love with a personal fantasy from my own imaginary world, rather than a real person. It's hard at first realizing I never actually had a chance with her, but it soon became quite easy to get over it and move on. Better than continuing to live in delusion over something that never actually existed in the first place. Falling in love is so different to crush infatuation. In fact, the term falling in love is stupid. It's more of a slow drift, so slow and unremarkable that you almost don't even notice it. It has no destination and never really stops evolving. This is going to be the exact opposite answer you're looking for, but I found myself single recently and ran into him at the grocery store, and after a few minutes catching up, what do you know? He's single too. Asked him out on the spot. He said yes. Turns out that I was his one that got away too. It's been a little while now and we're ridiculously in love and grateful for one another every single day because we're neither of us the abusive buttholes we each spent the last however many years putting up with. Eye closing. Sometimes the person you had a crush on for years turns out to be the best person you've ever known. Sometimes they don't, but you'll never know unless you try. In high school had a massive crush on this much more popular girl in my year. Eventually her and her friends found out and basically tormented me endlessly about it. That's when I realized she was a fuckhead and I no longer cared. A lot of it can be answered by asking yourself, what do you like about them? Far too often, at least for me, I caught myself going, well, she's physically attractive and I didn't actually know a darn thing about this woman. She could be a Nobel laureate or an anti-masker member of Q for all I knew. Stopping to actually try to quantify what I like about a person made all the difference. Taking a step back and trying to view them in a different light. Looking past their looks and taking notice of certain traits and behaviors that you normally overlook because you're so caught up in how hot they are. 9 times out of 10 for me, I found I didn't really like them at all or could see I wouldn't actually be happy being with them. No clue, I guess time. Though I still get sad when I see her pop up on social media, or see her on the streets. Oh yeah, music helped me, preferably Megadeth. Personally, what helped me, especially after having a relationship with mine a few times, was realizing that I was always consistently the one who would reach out first, and it was never vice versa. I personally think if someone really feels the same way, they will reciprocate at least a similar level of effort as you do. He lied about me to friends that he didn't realize were also friends with my relatives. His lie involved me sleeping with him on the same day I was actually in a wedding with 3 cousins and multiple witnesses. Butthole. Forgot to mention, my first wedding. Yeah, I had already been over the hence the whole getting married thing, but this definitely solidified any lingering feelings I may have had. It wasn't for years, but it was a strong feeling. Basically I got over it by not seeing her again and realizing that I am way below her level for her to reconsider me. When they went into a relationship with someone who wasn't me, kind of kills the fantasy and makes me acknowledge reality. Time. It's the worst. But in time, things fade. Let yourself feel those emotions. Let yourself think emotionally, logically, rationally, devil's advocate lie, and allow yourself to move on, which sucks. Do your best to avoid relationships for the sake of filling the void and try to pursue meaningful, positive relationships until you feel like you have become calmly centered. Seriously, time heals all wounds. Also, time can suck it. Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Bupropion actually stops me from getting infatuated and diminishes my affect around my old crushes. I used to crush one 3 times a year. It's off-label use to treat addiction. Secondly, after reading the book Attached, I realized a good deal of my crushing was activation of my attachment style and had little to do with them. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.